Yeah. Yeah. You can't get out.
I'm hesitant to laugh into the microphone. It's probably gonna keep up.
All right, we're good. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you. Technology, it's not perfect all the time.
No.
Try our best.
All right, so we're on item 3, public input. Was there anyone from the public that wanted to speak? All right, I think that's a no. So we'll go on to item 4, announcements.
Next Borough Council meetings are the April 2nd workshop meeting and the April 16th regular meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 24th at 6 p.m. in council chambers. That meeting will be canceled due to lack of business. The Hatfield Museum Historical Society is scheduled to meet Tuesday, March 25th at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. And HUROC is scheduled to meet Wednesday, March 26th at 8 a.m. here in council chambers.
All right, any questions on the announcements? If not, we'll go to item 5, the VMSC Emergency Medical Services 2024 year-end report and presentation. Gentlemen, I will turn it over to you.
You mean to go to the podium?
Yes.
Use the mic.
Use the mic?
It helps with the recording.
The green light should be on.
The green light?
Yep.
Yeah.
Honorable Council, Mayor, wanted to just stop by. It's been about a year since I've been here and trying to make my rounds across the municipalities that we service and just kind of give a in-phase kind of presentation, just a quick snapshot of our operations in the previous year. So in Hatfield Borough, we responded to 143 ambulance calls last year. The number one type of call that we respond to are falls in the community. It generally falls either number 1 or number 2 across all of our municipalities. It's generally an elderly population, it's a slip, trip scenario, and then it's a fall. It's something we're working hard to come up with funding to support some fall mitigation and risk programs throughout our communities to help, improve living conditions and so forth, and identify potential hazards in people's homes that we can help try to mitigate and improve that. We've all seen, that vibrant, 85-year-old, and they're out doing things and they have that one fall and then, their lives forever changed, right? So, happy to report, our cardiac arrest survivals continue to outpace the nation and the Commonwealth about 13 and 12%. We're really proud of that. So if you're going to have a heart attack and you want to do that in one of the 12 municipalities we provide service. We answered 143 cardiac arrests system-wide. Of those, 114 were found in conditions that we could work. And of that, 51 patients were successfully resuscitated last year in the field. We're really proud of that number. The hard work our EMTs and paramedics are doing is really paying off. We're doing a lot of training, and all this would not be possible. Some of the things with blood and ventilators and all the advanced formularies that we do are a direct result of the contributions we received from the municipalities. So I'm incredibly thankful for that. And, we certainly appreciate it. In the Commonwealth, only approximately 22% of all municipalities throughout the Commonwealth provide any contributions to emergency medical services. So you guys and the rest of the municipalities we serve, which I'm happy to report that all 12 municipalities provide financial support to order EMS. So we recently launched blood, and we're among the 1% of EMS agencies in the United States that have the capability to do a blood transfusion. We're really proud of that. A little over a year of planning and collaborations and training to get that off the ground. But proud to say that in Kalamazoo on Saturday, we administered our first field blood transfusion with a successful outcome. So already making a difference there. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say that several of us were present at that free hospital blood demonstration. I thought that was really, really good. I really, really enjoyed that. Made you see what exactly happens when your EMTs answer a call. And I just want to thank you for keeping, it's reassuring for us to know you're keeping up with all the developments in the field. And just want to thank you and thank all of your EMTs for the service you do and keep up the good work.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We've certainly come a long way in the last few years. To the point now, there are in the North Penn and Indian Valley operation, we have 57 certified paramedics in our operation. So we're really proud of that. System-wide, we're almost at 80 with our Philadelphia operations as well. But just in these communities that we serve and the North Penn and Indian Valley, we have 57 of the highest trained EMS personnel that you can have. So we're really confident that, the work that we're doing is really paying off.
And have you found those numbers of EMTs been steady or have they gone up or down as far as like recruitment or?
We have a very low attrition rate
Yeah.
at the MSC. A lot of things. We're able to pay a good salary. We have really good benefits. We're a union job. But we also instituted in a partnership with Jefferson Health and Thomas Jefferson University for paramedic training. So we have taken that completely over. And last year was our first, 2 years ago was our first program. 10 students started, 10 students completed. In this session, we have 13. So we're building our own paramedics. We're really happy about that. We're in a growth mode at this point with our Philadelphia operations. So we're expanding in those areas. We recently did a merger with Pearl Home First Aid Squad, which is in Northeast Philadelphia. They were a 90-year-old system, and they approached us and they brought a lot to the table for our operations that we were doing. So we're really pleased about that, including 2 ambulances that were literally a few months old that we were able to actually bring into the North Penn and Indian Valley to replace 2 of our older trucks. And time to save us some money there, and that operation is really helping us propel the organization and closing the gaps that we have with just providing emergency ambulance services. That's where the real struggle is. You have no control who calls the ambulance, whether they have insurance, whether it's adequate to provide the services. And the Philadelphia operation, the diversification of our lines of services has allowed us to take the burden off the taxpayers and still provide a really solid good service. So it's working out great.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Here goes half your crown.
What?
Here goes half your crown.
Yeah, I know.
More than half.
Well, Larry's still here, so that's what counts. So
That's 2.
how you doing, my friend? All right. All right. Great to see you. All right. Thank the chief and his crew for all the work they're doing. So, all right, let's go to item 6, new business and discussion items. We'll start with the March 2025 Hatfield Police Report.
And we skip that.
I guess
till
we skipped that.
the lieutenant can come back in.
Yep.
We'll just go on to the next one.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
If you don't mind.
No, it's not a problem. Not a problem. All right, we'll go to item B, payment request number 5 for the utility replacement project.
This is payment request number 5 for the utility replacement project for storm sewer replacement that took place on West Broad Street by KDC Construction through February 22nd of 2025. It's recommended that we remit payment of $198,737.10. It's on for consideration as an action item. There is, 2 payments, yes.
All right, do you want to hit payment number 6 as well?
Yes. Payment number 6 was also included in your packets. This is for sanitary sewer work that was completed as part of the project on North Main Street. And it is recommended that we make a payment of $37,885.50 to KBC Construction for work completed through February 22nd, 2025. I will also highlight with both of these payments, just as a side note, we got our first reimbursement back today from this project, over $300,000. So that's the quickest that I have ever seen since working in Hatfield Borough of getting a grant reimbursement. So Chad and I were super excited about that. So have a call into our debt service provider to see how we can make a payment to start to pay some of our debt back to lower some of our payments for this year. So exciting that as soon as we're paying, we're actually getting money right back in the door.
And Chad's happy with the work and the progress?
Yes, we've had nothing but positive comments about the contractor and their employees. Actually, a couple residents have asked if they could actually hire them for their own private work. Unfortunately, they don't do private residential work. They only do private commercial work, but still, I will say, and Steve has said, this is probably one of the best, if not the best contractor we've ever worked with in Hatfield.
Right now, we're pointing out that Chad did send letters approving of both payments.
All right, any questions?
That was in the extra.
Yes. All right, if there are no questions on those, we'll go back to item A, the Hatfield Police Report. Now that the LT is back,
Nothing further to add.
anything interesting you want to highlight to the public?
The snowball fight?
Yeah.
Apparently an errant snowball hit a truck, so. No damage.
An errant snowball.
Apparently.
Ah, okay, okay.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I remember errant snowballs when I was younger too.
Well, they were
so-
having a snowball fight, you see. So
Yeah.
one went loose.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't a direct hit, it was crossfire, I guess, friendly fire. So the report says.
So that says, yes. You know, you gotta find some humor in some things in life these days, so it's, yeah. So,
I noticed that the crashes in February were up on last year versus this year. Do you suppose that has anything to do with the all the work that's going on?
I don't believe it'd be, I mean, you're gonna have some normal fluctuations. It wasn't tremendously higher. You're gonna have fluctuations month to month, but I think overall we're actually lower, which is good. I'm sure you also saw the increase in selective enforcement, traffic enforcement in general. It's higher this year already as well. I think that should actually have a greater impact in the long run too.
Any other questions for the lieutenant? All right, if not, we'll go to item D, the Hatfield Legion Post 933 Memorial Day Parade request.
This is the annual request from the Hatfield American Legion, Post 933, to hold the Memorial Day parade and ceremony beginning at Memorial Park on May 26th, 2025, starting at 9 a.m. So this is on for consideration as an action item this evening.
Any questions? I'm assuming there'll be a sign up for us walking and everything.
Yeah, Lindsay will probably send an email out just to see who's interested in participating.
Okay. All right, if there are no questions, we'll go to item E, resolution 2025-14, the Memorial Day Parade road closure request. Sorry? 04, excuse me.
This is the resolution that goes with the request for Memorial Day to close certain roads in the borough. This is on for consideration as an action item. Just want to highlight that Katie and myself have been in contact with PennDOT. As you know, the parade route is under construction. They cannot guarantee that the parade route will be approved this year. So I'm working with the Legion for an alternate route, which they did propose. This resolution would cover that as well because it just talks about certain roads in the borough. It doesn't call out West Broad which is actually a state road or anything, or Coffle, which happens to be in the township and partially in the borough. Their alternate route that they proposed was East Lincoln Avenue to Main Street to West Vine to Coffle. So we're gonna submit both. That we would prefer the parade route to be straight down from Memorial Park down to Coffle to make a left to end up at the Legion, but we will also submit the alternative route as that was something they suggested. It was just, they said they never ran into a permit request on an active construction road. If it was a bike race, then it definitely would not be approved.
Right.
But because people are walking and we do have insurance that covers the event, they submit it and see what happens. So we will submit this. We have to note that it's active construction and the Legion is aware, but we also will submit the alternative as well as a backup because that's what they suggested. So hopefully one of the two will be approved and we can have the parade. If the route is the alternative route, we have talked to Steve. We don't have enough equipment to put up barricades to close all the roads with the alternative route. So we would still have to work with the township to be able to provide barricades and road closures. We just don't have enough on staff or on hand, I should say. We obviously use a lot less if it's just straight down Broad Street. But we can still make it work. We're still willing to make it work. We encourage them that we'll do whatever we can to try to get it approved. Well, both are state roads and it's kind of out of our hands.
Yeah.
I did ask the contractor if lastly, worst case scenario, what East Broad Street and West Broad Street would look like the day of the parade. And he said, as is today, that West Broad Street would look as it is today and East Broad Street would look almost identical to that. That's worst case scenario.
Okay.
Doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but that's worst case scenario. It's not like steel plates all over and that kind of thing, so. Well, see what we can do.
Yeah. I mean, the ground's not perfectly flat, but it's not bad, right? I could see bikes being an issue, but walking shouldn't be an issue, but okay, yeah. All right. That'd be interesting. Is that the first time we would ever had it down Main Street if we
Yeah.
use the alternate route?
Larry, do you know the answer? Sorry to call on you.
A long time ago, it used to come.
It used to come on me.
Oh, really?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
And go
so
down what?
it'd go up,
Main and Vine.
Main and Vine?
oh, so it'd go up Broad and then turn down Main and then, oh, okay, interesting. I thought we were making history, apparently not, so. All right, any questions? If not, we'll go to item F, the 23 North Main Street Hatfield grinder pump operation and maintenance agreement.
Okay, let me take this one. This is Pennington Walk. We found out, I think late in the game, but for their sewer to be connected, they need grinder pumps.
Mhm.
Okay, so, what we wanted to do was to have an agreement that can be recorded against the property in case it is sold to individual owners. So that the individual owners know in their title reports that they've got a grinder pump and that it's their job to take care of it. So I drafted an agreement. Chad had a form and that he liked and I souped it up a little bit. That's what lawyers do, come on. But it basically
Billable hours.
provides that the owner of the grinder pump is responsible to maintain it, make sure it works. And if they don't, and the borough has to come in, and it would be our choice theoretically, but if a grinder pump goes and there's sewage all over, we don't have a lot of choice there, okay? If we have to come in, fix it or clean up a mess, then we can lien the property so that they pay us back. Because it's a private thing, for that. So that's the grinder pump operation and maintenance agreement. And you have to approve that first because they're going to attach it to their DEP permit for their sewer module. Okay, so it's going to be part of it. So that's why it's on here as F and G. First, you look at the operation and maintenance agreement, and that has been shared with the developer, and they've apparently agreed to it as well. Heard that from Chad. Okay, and then And then you would approve the resolution to send in the sewage facilities planning module, which includes the grinder agreement. Okay, so that's basically it. And then it's up to DEP to check it out, make sure that it's all gonna work. Grinder pumps, as Chad pointed out, are a lot more popular than they used to be. Because there are properties that just don't flow by gravity into a sewer main. And that's the issue with this one.
And help me, I don't remember when we talk about it being the property owners, right?
Right.
There were 2 pumps for the 8 properties. So when we say property owners, we're talking about all of them as collective, right? So it's not any one individual.
Correct.
Okay.
I believe that is how it works, but here's the other funny thing, the developer told us that he'd be owning the whole thing and then renting them out.
Right,
Right,
Right.
so it will be his responsibility.
Right.
But if he breaks it into condominiums, which he can do, and then sells each unit, it would be against the property that would probably be common maintenance responsibilities for the association.
okay.
Or-
And it's worded that way so that if
Right.
it changes hands, then, okay.
So that's why I need to record it in case it changes hands,
Hmm.
so that it shows up in their title.
Just a side question on that. Instead of us, in the event something happened, instead of us having lien properties, is there a way to have them issue a bond for potential, damages or repairs or anything like that down the road instead of having lien properties?
Well, the problem is that a bond would, have to be in effect for 20 years. And I think it's possible, but I think they would object to that. And I think that would be a problem. We'd be holding the bond and they'd be paying for it for nothing, essentially.
Well, they wouldn't be paying for it for nothing, but it's sort of like an insurance policy.
Well, yes and no. The lien itself, once you put a lien on it, it gets priority in the filing. And, I don't think you would lien them first. The first thing you do is if it ends up, we spend money cleaning it up or taking care of it, we send them a bill. And then if they don't pay it, then we, so they're gonna know about it. If a grinder pump fails, they're gonna know about it. So-
Sure they will.
Very quickly.
And the system may be inspected by the borough from time to time to ensure it's being properly maintained. And I also believe it's insured. Hold on. Yes, the owner shall indemnify, meaning hold harmless, the covered properties from any and all claims in connection with. So that's in there.
Does that mean the individual units, those people would not be responsible? That would be on the,
It would be on, it's probably gonna be on an association if there is one. Right now, the developer is gonna own all the units, so he'd be responsible. Pennington Property Group, LLC. It's similar to, we do this in other situations, I don't know. I mean, we do lean if people get very far behind in their bills. We've had some electric bills that got pretty high, and we did lean them. That's only so if it gets sold, we can collect, at the settlement table or something like that. So it's not unusual in that respect. And it would be unusual if the grinder pump failed, but it is just something we have to think about.
So is there anything that requires, the owner, if he splits it into condominiums, to set it up in such a way that it has a homeowner association, so this is covered? I don't know if that question makes sense or not.
Probably, I'm not sure we could enforce that, but if I were them, I'd do it that way.
Yeah.
Most condominiums have an association.
Okay,
Yeah, they have to, that's part of their.
right, but
deal.
there's nothing in this written that would mandate that they do that to cover this, just in the event.
No, although if I record it, it's a lien on their title.
Hmm.
So that's obviously something they gotta think about.
Okay,
And the borough can, like I said, from time to time, the owner, and the owner is defined as, let's see. DPG Hatfield LLC. Okay, but if they sell it to somebody else or transfer the title and it's recorded, it goes with the title.
Yeah, like I said, I'm thinking more of if they sell off the individual units, how does that get then, how do we then mandate that they,
Then this would be in all of their titles because the tax ID number is just a whole piece. Sorry,
it's okay,
the parent parcel, yeah,
okay,
so it's in there, it'll show up. They should sell them as individual units.
no, I'm just saying, it's more about making sure that they would set up an HOA to cover all of that, right?
Right.
So there's nothing that guarantees that they have to do
No,
that,
because
so,
interestingly enough, a condo or a homeowners association or co-op even, which we have very few of in Pennsylvania, but they're pretty common in New York, okay? They are titled, so that's not a land use. Our zoning ordinance and our subdivision ordinance are allowed to and do regulate land uses,
Mhm.
single-family dwellings, townhouses, twins, whatever. But they don't actually regulate title. So whether you two own your property together or whether one or the other owns it, we got no say in that as a municipal government. You know, we have no say in that. So if the title goes to somebody else, we can't stop that. We can't stop a condominium. People have tried and the courts have ruled, land use is okay. I'm not sure you can even do that. You know?
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to, that's why you want it recorded. So it'll show up in the title to the property.
Okay.
So that's the goal.
All right, well, I think we covered F and G. Yep.
Correct.
Any other questions? All right, if not, we'll go to item 7, our old business, the zoning and hearing board, 32 Roosevelt Avenue, the application. Pending?
That was mine too. This is one where, the Borough Council had sent me to oppose an application for a variance to use basically a garage as another living unit that could be rented out. We had 2 meetings on this, one hearing and 1 meeting. The applicant was advised to consult an attorney. She didn't have an attorney. English is not her first language, so this was a little bit difficult. But at the second hearing, she promised not to use it as a separate dwelling unit and not to rent it out. Okay? The zoning board did deny the variance, so she doesn't have a right to use it as a second dwelling unit or rent it out. Now, they were going to condition the grant of a variance with having a deed restriction, saying it can't be rented out because this is a person who bought the property, was told by the seller, hey, it's no problem. You know, you can use this as a rental unit, and that wasn't true. It never had borough approval.
Mhm.
So we thought that she might agree to a deed restriction because she wouldn't want her buyer to be in the same situation, but she did not agree. And since the zoning board turned it down, they couldn't condition an approval on a grant, on a deed restriction because they turned it down. So essentially what I advised our code officer to do is she still needs a use and occupancy for use of this property as part of her house, basically play space. You know, you can have a bed in there, extra bedroom or something like that. Somebody can stop and sleep or whatever. As far as a kitchen, she said she only had a fridge and a microwave. People can have them in your house too. So what we're gonna do is have the occupancy permit state explicitly that it may not be rented out. And it may not be used as an in-law suite even. They could just use it as part of their living quarters. Now, is that enforceable? Only if we notice that it's getting rented out. And we may or may not notice it. Okay, but that's basically what it was. So Borough Council's position was upheld. The zoning board did turn it down. And in their view, she didn't have a reason to get a variance. There was nothing about her property that prevented her from using it exactly as zoned in accordance with the, the zoning, which is a single family dwelling. And so I'm hoping that everybody complies with the rules and that's the way it is. I would only say, now that you're looking at your comprehensive plan, I think and this is not the only one we've had a couple applications just like this, which the zoning board has also turned down, okay? But, you know, when you're doing your comprehensive plan, you should examine whether or not you want to make provisions for an in-law suite and require a deed restriction, or whether you don't, or you want in-law suites in certain neighborhoods and not in others. I will also say that I was surprised that none of the neighbors came. That's unusual. Usually when your neighbors get a zoning notice that you're looking for, you know, an accessory dwelling on your property, they come out and they're opposed to it. None of our neighbors came. So I thought that was interesting. So maybe some neighborhoods are okay with it and some are not. That's just something for our council to consider, but in the short term, the zoning board denied the variance and it is not a separate dwelling unit. Okay,
Complicated.
yeah, more complicated than you would think.
Mhm.
That's a decision letter, and it just says it's turned down.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking about enforcement, so,
Yes,
Okay.
it's not easy.
we can
That
talk.
would be something to fall under Mr. Hiles' authority.
Correct.
It would be maybe set up some sort of a periodic schedule to not necessarily inspect the property, but just take a look, close look at it to see if anything unusual is going on there. Like, I mean, I don't know what else you could do.
Well, the only other thing you could do would be check and make sure that utilities, there's only one. People tend to split at 2 meters when they have 2 dwelling units.
We didn't know that up front because you have to go across the.
Correct.
So.
But
Right,
didn't
so-
we, I'm sorry, it was the other property we put the 240 on. That was the one on Main Street, not this one, so sorry.
Right, and we just had a judicial conference on that, which I can report on executive session, but long story short, we did check and make sure they only had 1 electric service and 1 sewer service.
Okay.
Now, it's possible to rent it out and then just say that, that-
Electric
that's
included,
included in
yeah,
the rent.
yeah.
So that's not a foolproof method.
Right. But correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't have plumbing in there either, right? So they would have to add plumbing, water and sewer if someone else was gonna use it as a permanent dwelling.
Correct,
So-
but I think there was a bathroom that was available.
Wasn't,
I
okay,
don't know if it was a full bath or just, you know.
okay, I don't remember.
Well, in relation to that too, if they're going to, I'm assuming they at least have an electric light in the current building. But if they're gonna make that into a in-law suite, they're gonna have to have some electrical work done or outlets and switches, whatever else, they're gonna have to be permits and that work.
All for which the borough has a requirement of a permit.
Right.
Not everybody
So
gets them.
We would be able to go in and take a look and see.
Correct. And she did promise she'd apply for an occupancy permit and things like that. So, but remember, the seller of this property that we're talking about evidently did a lot of work without permits.
Hmm.
So, and in a sense, she bought it believing it was okay, even though the borough does have an ordinance that requires an inspection before our sale. But, you know, if you don't know what you're looking for, I guess you might miss it.
It's possible to put a notation on the deed. Now, I mean, if at the end of once the current deed say, okay, if this property goes up for sale, there must be an inspection of the outbuilding.
You can't put it in the deed because you'd need the owner's signature, and she refused. I asked that, she refused. But you can put it in the borough's own records in the use and occupancy. Okay, so if you have it in the use and occupancy and your code officer's doing his job, resale, he ought to notice the file and check and make sure. We do have a due on sale
Yeah,
requirement.
that's something we should look into going with that.
Right.
All right. Any further questions? All right. If not, we'll go to item 8, our action items for the evening. So we'll start with item A, motion to consider payment request number 5 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction in the amount of $198,737.10. Can I get a motion for this payment?
Second?
I got a motion from Councilman Gerard, second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item B, motion to consider payment request number 6 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction in the amount of $37,885.50.
So move.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Fagan, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item C, motion to consider the Hatfield American Legion request to hold the annual Memorial Day Parade ceremony at Memorial Park.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Fagan. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item D, motion to consider resolution 2025-04, authorizing the closure of certain borough roads for the Hatfield American Legion Memorial Day Parade.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item E, motion to approve the 23 North Main Street Hatfield Walk grinder pump operation and maintenance agreements.
So move.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Fagan, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? Madam Solicitor, I did have a question. Did the name change? I thought you mentioned a different name when you were discussing it.
I think I used the entity that's in title.
Okay,
So it's a related corporation.
okay. All right. Just wanted to double check that.
Also, do you know if did Chad look at that at all? That agreement?
Yeah,
He did?
in fact, it was Chad did the first draft
Okay, good.
and he was fine with that. I just, I added a few things.
Okay.
That's all.
Remember the billable hours we talked about? All right. If there are no further questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, there are none. Motion passes. Item F, motion to approve resolution 2025-05, authorizing the 23 North Main Street Hatfield Walk Sewer Facilities Planning Module for submission to DEP for its approval.
Moved.
Second?
I have a motion from Councilman Gerard, a second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item 9, the bills. Do you want to show that before we make a motion?
I will just highlight that, the bill list is very high this month. But 2 AMP Ohio bills are on there for electric totaling, over 300,000. 2 utility replacement project payments are on there totaling over 230,000. HTMA quarterly bills on there for 131. So all those together are totaling over $728,000 of the $900,000 bill list. So there's a lot of big payments this month.
You'd mentioned the AMP was behind from the last time.
Yes, yeah, it was not on last month's bill list, so you would have seen it twice. We did pay it on time. That's why it's up at the top.
That's in the
If she,
first of the
yes,
month.
yeah, because she puts the date process next to it, so she did pay them.
In the fourth quarter, HTMA payment, is that typical? Is that
Yeah.
Pretty standard?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. I
I
forget how much it is.
yeah, sometimes it can be up to like 150s. 1 month it was 170 something. I thought that was a fairly high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilman Gerard, you have a question? Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right, if there are no other questions, can I get a motion to approve payment of the bills?
So moved.
Second.
Make a motion from Councilman Gerard, second from Councilman Fagan. Any other questions? All in favor?
I,
Opposed? All right, there are none. We will have an executive session to talk about real estate legislation or litigation, excuse me, and personal matters. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
second,
All right, I got a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a tie for second from both Councilman Fagan and Gerard. All in favor?
I.
All right, opposed? There are none. Motion passes and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.